Well, howdy there, folks. James, Political Friar, coming to you again. Got the London School of Economics hat on, and so we're going to have an international relations topic on this one. Specifically, we're going to talk about the distressing escalation in the Middle East that was reported overnight. That three American service members were killed by an Iranian backed militia in Jordan, of all places. This is different in kind from the literally dozens of other attacks that have been made on American service members in the Middle East recently. See, all of those previous attacks were, I suspect, more theater than not. They were symbolic attacks, bright, violent, not particularly dangerous attacks. Missiles targeted at the parade grounds, not the barracks of these military bases, so that nobody got particularly hurt. And that was the pattern that was set in place after the death of General Soleimani. We saw the Trump administration assassinate Soleimani, and the Iranians retaliate with a big missile barrage targeting American military bases and killing nobody. And that's what had been going on since the beginning of this war in Gaza. The American military bases would have a drone drop a bomb into an open field. It would have a missile targeted at a airfield with nobody around. It was symbolic, not deadly. Well, now we have deadly. And not only do we have deadly in a territory that has not suffered these types of attacks. See, all these previous attacks have been against American installations in Iraq or in Syria, not Jordan. I mean, this is admittedly on the border. It probably was initiated out of Western Iraq or Syria, but it's in the territory of Jordan. And the Jordanian king, while pretty clearly on the American side of things, hasn't engaged so directly with the Iranians as he may be needing to do now. Now, there was a Jordanian air raid into Syria last week, and so it's possible that this is a tit for tat, but it's not at all proportional. When you're talking about these escalation ladders in international relations, there's a concept called tit for tat. It actually comes out of a game, believe it or not, called the prisoner's dilemma. So once upon a time, the prisoner's dilemma was a political scientist's, game theorist's holy grail. How do you solve the prisoner's dilemma? And for those of you who don't know about the prisoner's dilemma, it supposes that there are two prisoners who are captured by the police. And the prisoners have a choice. They can either betray their colleague and thus give themselves a lighter sentence, or they can cooperate with their colleague. So when prisoner A betrays his colleague, prisoner B, if prisoner B cooperates with prisoner A, as in doesn't talk, then it's prisoner B who gets a severe sentence and prisoner A who gets off easy. If they both betray, then they both get a middling sentence. And if they both cooperate, as in they cooperate with each other, they get an even lighter sentence. And so there's the outcomes. The real bad outcome is when you cooperate with the other prisoner and they betray you. If you both betray each other, it's second worst outcome. And then the best outcome is when both prisoners cooperate with each other. So how do you get everybody to cooperate? And the tactic that was eventually discovered was called tit for tat. It was a very simple program. It said, start prisoners by cooperating. First game, cooperate. Then after the first game, because you're going to play this as a multiple iteration game, after the first game, just do what the other side did. If the other side cooperated in the previous game, you cooperate in the next one. If the other side betrayed in the previous game, you betray in the next one. It's a way of communicating through the multiple iterations of the game that you are interested in cooperating or betraying, and then you can eventually settle into a position where everybody is incentivized to cooperate and everybody has some confidence that cooperation can happen. And so you see in this escalation ladder in the Middle East that game being played out. Both sides know it. A good example is what happened with Iran and Pakistan. So a few weeks ago, we did a video on Pakistan and Iran exchanging missile fire, and it was theatrical the way that it happened. See, Iran attacked Pakistan's Baluchi rebels, and then Pakistan proportionally attacked Iran's Baluchi rebels, and then both sides could have some confidence that they could go back to cooperating after they each gave a tit for a tat. Each side betrayed once. And then after that, they could go back. They could continue to cooperate on the border and probably cooperate against these separatists too. It doesn't mean that they're buddies, but it does mean that they have a way of dealing with these escalations. The Yemeni attacks in the Red Sea are having a similar set of conditions play out. The Houthi rebels will attack a container ship, and the United States and Britain will respond proportionally. The idea being to actually communicate, hey, we are showing restraint, you show restraint. Hopefully we can get back into cooperation. And this was very much the same kind of thing that you saw with the United States and the Iranian militias. The Iranian militias would launch a rocket into a U.S. base, and the U.S. would launch a single airstrike to degrade the people who launched the rocket. But it was always kind of even. Well, killing Americans isn't even. That is a severe escalation. And when you have a bigger tit, you need a bigger tat. And that means that the Americans are going to probably balance the scales with a significantly bigger strike back. And the Jordanians will probably help. And that means that you're starting to see a calcification of sides that didn't exist exactly the same way in Gaza. See, the United States, fundamentally Jordan, fundamentally Saudi Arabia, fundamentally all the people who are anti-Iran are on the side of Israel. Now, they're on the side of Israel to different degrees because they are not interested in being against the Palestinians, but it's Iran that matters. And that's where the calculation has been. Now you've got a severe attack against the United States where you actually have fatalities, and that's going to harden the United States' attitude towards Gaza. It's going to encourage the United States to have less interest in pressuring Israel to restrain itself. And it's going to potentially engage the United States more directly against Iran. It'll be against Iran's proxies, but eventually it might be against Iran. And that's what is different and distressing about this new occurrence is we can theorize because we've had experience with escalation ladders about what will happen. And what will happen next is the United States will find a appropriate target in Syria or Iraq to attack the Iranian-backed militias, but it'll be big, and it may very well trigger another cycle of violence. And if this cycle, like any feud, gets unleashed, we could see a truly vicious cycle of escalation. And that is how you get a wider war. So let's hope not. Let's hope that the United States finds the right target to communicate to the Iranian militias, hey, we're even, stop it. Let's go back to not cooperating, but not fighting. It's a tough one. I don't envy the Biden administration in trying to work this out. But we'll have to wait and see. It is going to, at least in the short term, alleviate some of the pressure on the Israelis to be nice to the Palestinians. The pressure was growing. That pressure was maybe even reaching a crescendo. And these Iranian militias, they might have actually change the dynamic enough that the Israelis will be a bit more off the hook. I bet you that wasn't their intention, but you know, people make mistakes, and attacking an American base and killing 3 American soldiers, well, I think the United States is going to demonstrate that that was a mistake. Anyway, it's just a thought. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Leave a like to this video, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and maybe think about telling a friend. All right, I'll talk to you soon. Thanks.